Welcome to Thin Line Stories.
Today's story is a little bit different, but no less amazing. Recently, a wonderful woman by the name of Rosemary Heath reached out to me asking if I would do a story about her husband, George Heath. Well, when I read George and Rosemary's story in 2016, Rosemary and George went out for their date night dinner and a movie. Tragically, they would not make it to the movies. They sat down at the bar and prepared for a nice evening out when a sudden scream caused them both to jump. A deranged man had entered the restaurant, taken a steak knife from a waitress, and began to stab her. The moment they realized what was happening, both George and Rosemary jumped up from their seats and ran to the commotion. While George tried to pin down the man's arms, Rosemary tried to take the knife away from him. Horrifically, the man was able to free the arm with the knife and stabbed George in the temple. As George fell, the assailant went for Rosemary. That's when Plymouth County Sheriff's Deputy Lieutenant James Creed jumped into action. Lieutenant Creed intervened in time to save Rosemary. The assailant then charged Lieutenant Creed, who had no choice but to shoot the man, killing him. While there is no question that George Heath and Lieutenant Creed are true selfless heroes, I want to talk a little bit about Rosemary. Rosemary Heath, in the face of danger, did not flinch in attempting to save that woman with no regard for her own personal safety. That isn't Rosemary's only act of bravery. Rosemary took an unbelievable, horrific tragedy and made something good come from it. In 2017, Rosemary created her kindness card project to honor her husband, George. She sends these cards out in hopes that it will encourage people to perform acts of kindness. Even after her incredible loss, Rosemary's hope is that people will put others first, just as her husband did on that fateful day. George was a beloved husband and teacher. In yet another touching side note of the story, Lieutenant James Heath later named his canine Heath. I hope you'll join me today in honoring George Heath's memory, Lieutenant James Creed, and of course, Rosemary Heath. So go out today and perform a random act of kindness in memory of George Heath. Put others first and be kind.